Taking a look today at the fuel pump on the Volkswagen Baja Bug. I actually changed this on the side of the road a few months ago. I'd run out of gas and I couldn't pull the new gas from the tank to the engine. So I, at the side of the road, changed to a second pump, which also would not pull the gas from the tank. And finally this third one, which was brand new, did succeed in getting gas to the engine, and I was on my way. The trouble is, with the outlet pointed backwards, it puts this line right next to my exhaust manifold, which I'm kind of concerned about. So I'm gonna take this one off and pull one off of a spare engine that at least was working when that engine was retired. Here's a different angle on the fuel line. You can see how it's very close to the exhaust here. So I'm going to change this fuel pump with one that has the intake and the outlet both on the back. Taking a look today at a couple of VW fuel pumps. I ran out of gas alongside the road and neither one of these would pull the new gas from the tank. And I'll take the opportunity to note that this one has the more angled style to clear the alternator. It also has the operating lever protruding beyond this plane of installation here, so it takes the short operating rod. This one has a more upright design, and the operating lever is recessed, and so it takes the longer operating rod. Both, however, have the inlet and the outlet pointed back towards the fan shroud, and I'm finding this is the way to go with a dual carburetor installation, as we'll see later. Got my Ferrari coffee cup going today for good luck. Today I'm looking at a fuel pump they sell at the local parts store. It's a Airtex. You can see some part numbers here. It's kind of interesting in that it's held together with screws, so possibly could be overhauled. It's got the a metal operating lever recessed for the longer operating rod. Doesn't look like it would work with the alternator. It stands up pretty high, and there's no bead on these tubes to hold the hose on. Still, it looks like a decent quality part. Doesn't have circlips on this pin, which is a negative, and it's got the outlet pointed at the exhaust system, so it's not really solving my problem at hand. And it's a $59 item. So yet another VW fuel pump design in the mix. This one by Airtex. Taking a look now at the fuel pump that I took off of a different engine that was running when I retired it. It's got one, it's got like the outlet pointed straight up and the inlet pointed back towards the fan shroud. A mostly upright design. It's got the operating lever recessed, so it takes the long operating rod. I'll note that there's no circlips on this pin. It's pressed in. Someone warned me not to use these, that the pin will eventually fall out. So I guess I'll keep my eye on that. Also, the operating lever is plastic, not metal. So I'll certainly keep a spare in the car, but we'll see how this goes. Also, I just happened to spot this is a Aftermarket short operating rod, and it just doesn't seem to be a very good quality. It's very rough finish, so I wonder if it, one, is going to saw through that plastic piece that it fits in, and two, if it's going to destroy the ramp that it rides up and down on the distributor drive. Yeah, your typical VW Aftermarket part obviously not built with any appropriate care. So I put some Honda moly paste on the operating lever on this fuel pump, and I put white grease between the fuel pump and the gasket, and I'll put more white grease on the other side of the gasket before I install it. Here's my tub of white grease. I don't know if it really does anything, but I've put white grease on gaskets for years. And here's the Honda moly paste. Anything that just rubs versus spinning, I've started to use Honda moly 60 paste. Again, where things just rub versus spin. As it turned out, this one in my left hand I did install, and it did not pump, and so I put the first one back on. I rerouted the fuel line, and I added this asbestos foil heat resistant sleeve. So I've got at least an inch here with this rerouting around this side of the distributor. I should have worked this operating lever back and forth with the screwdriver and convinced myself that it would pump before I installed it. I guess I got ahead of myself. I also failed to take any video while this was installed, so you'll have to take my word for it. I guess I will buy whatever they sell now and keep it with me as a spare. So here's the fuel pump I wound up buying as a spare. It's the Brosol 113127-025D. The D might pertain to its being the very short tilted fuel pump with the operating rod protruding past the gasket plane to fit under the alternator. Basically, I bought this one because it's got the outlet pointed back towards the fan shroud, not pointed at the belt and the exhaust pipe, and it's got circlips on this pin. I continue to hear horror stories about this pin falling out, so if you can find a fuel pump with the circlips on the pin, that's probably one to get. That was part of why I didn't buy the Airtex pump. Plus it had the outlet pointed at the belt, though it looked like a nice pump in other respects. A concern that I have here, this has a tooth at the end of the lever, as if the operating rod is supposed to balance on this tiny tooth instead of on the greater area of the lever. I think you can see it there. So that be interesting to see how that works out. And I may get on eBay, see if I can find the upright generator style pump with the circlips. Snap that up before they're gone. And lastly, I suspect I could take one of these circlip type pins from an old pump and drive it into a new pump that does not use circlips. Actually, at the shop where I got this, they said they sometimes build a L bracket to go under the mounting nut to surround the pin so it doesn't fall out on the non-circlip version. But that is not a road I'm going to go down. So thanks, and be sure and watch my other videos.